have switched. We are now being joined down the line by George Freeman, who is the Conservative MP for Mid Norfolk. Now, George originally voted for assisted dying, but he is one of those people that Theo was just mentioning. He switched sides and is now against. George, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Aisha. Pleasure.
So tell us why you've changed your mind on this.
Yeah, to be clear, I haven't voted against. I just abstained today.
Right.
So look, I voted for the bill to have a second reading. I think it's a really important debate, and I think it's a really important issue. And I absolutely agree that those suffering the terrible trauma of late-stage terminal disease have a right to have some hope. And, you know, we need to do something. Too many of them are taking their own lives, or those who can afford it go into Dignitas. So I support the aims of the bill. I have reservations about how we draft an act of parliament that would solve the problem without creating other problems. And I'm concerned that trying to do this through a private member's bill, I think is proving very difficult. And I think there are a number of us who share those concerns. I could run through them if that's of interest. And I hope that the government are going to come forward with their own bill and do it properly and correctly read opinion in Parliament and in the country. I think people want there to be something better for people with late-stage terminal disease, but I'm worried that this bill, as it's currently drafted, is going to create all sorts of unintended consequences.
And just it would be helpful if you could just outline what your concerns are, because we just heard from Simon Offa, who's a Labour MP, GP. He said, look, I think we've got this bill just about right because people on all sides are sort of complaining about it. So I think we have got this just about in the right place. But what are your misgivings about the unintended consequences?
Yeah, there are three really things. And I should just say, I appreciate, I think everyone on this, people with very strong views at either end of the debate. I think everyone is coming to this in a very genuine spirit. So I think everyone is trying to get it right. But I am aware there are quite strong views at either end, certainly in my constituency as well. In my mailbox, there are some people who are really passionately in favour of this and passionately worried about any objection to it. And then there are others who are passionately opposed to it and very hostile to anyone advocating for it. And I think my job as an MP and others is to try and get it right for the majority. So my reservations are threefold, really. Firstly, I do think that some of the protections that were in the bill, the presence of a judge and the importance of having some judicial insight to this taken out, I'm a bit worried about that, because I think for a decision of this magnitude, I think it does require a very senior person of proven judgment, and I don't think a few social workers is adequate.
So that's your first one, yeah.
Second is, I'm really worried about the message that passing this bill is in danger of sending out to those in society the vulnerable, the disabled, the frail, those who, are taking their own lives or minded to. Let's be aware that suicide is now the biggest cause of death for men under 50 in this country. We have a huge problem, and I'm really worried about sending a signal that we want somehow Parliament, the state, actively want to promote that. I think it's a huge danger. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, I'm really worried about the message that we may be sending to the elderly and the vulnerable generally, that they're a burden on society, and that we want them to basically be less of a burden. And in the end, we all die. There's no getting away from that. And in the end, I think what we want is a society and the health service, the system, care system that gives us death with dignity, pain-free. And I think I would rather have tried and mainstream this within our health care system. I'm uncomfortable with the idea that we would create a sort of a Dignitas sector in the UK. I would hate in Norfolk to have a Dignitas clinic, and we somehow mainstream people taking their own lives.
Well,
that's not a country I want to live in. But I do think it's a problem, and I really hope the government take this away and come back with a bill. I think Kim has done us all a favour, but now it goes through the House of Lords, so you know there's a lot further to go.
Yes, and it's something that we'll all be considering very carefully at our end of Parliament. Look, George, we really appreciate your time. I know it's a very busy day for you and you'll be rushing back to your constituency, but thanks very much for being so kind of frank about your feelings about this. Really appreciate that. That's George Freeman, who's the Conservative MP for Mid Norfolk. I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it, hearing all the very measured, considered, I think, good faith arguments on both sides. Well, look, and keep your comments coming in on that.